Right now, before you say a single word, before anyone sees your face, before you walk into a room, or pick up your phone, or speak your name, your energy field has already introduced you. It has already spoken. It has already told the space around you something about who you are, what you carry, what you believe about yourself, and what you're available to receive. It has already broadcast a signal so precise, so detailed, so deeply encoded with the truth of your inner life, that the quantum field, the invisible architecture of reality itself, has already begun assembling a response. The question that changes everything is this: do you know what your field has been saying? Because most people don't. Most people move through their entire lives radiating a signal they never chose, broadcasting a frequency assembled from old fear and inherited conditioning and unconscious patterns that were laid down before they were old enough to question them. And they wonder why certain things keep reaching them, why certain people keep finding them, why certain opportunities seem to pass right through their hands like water, no matter how hard they try to hold on. It's not bad luck. It's not fate. It's not the universe withholding something from you. It's your signal. And today, right now, in this transmission, I am going to show you something about your own energy field that most people will go their entire lives without understanding. I am going to show you what your aura actually is at the quantum level. I am going to show you what it has been doing without your knowledge. I am going to show you the precise mechanism by which your personal electromagnetic field shapes what reality assembles around you. And then I am going to show you how to become conscious of your own broadcast. Because the moment that happens, the moment you stop radiating unconsciously and start radiating with intention, everything changes. Not eventually, not gradually, not after years of practice. The shift begins the moment awareness arrives. There is a reason this knowledge has not traveled openly. There is a reason most people move through their lives without ever being shown the mechanics of their own light. When you understand how your field actually works, when you understand that you are not a passive receiver of whatever reality decides to deliver, but an active broadcasting station whose signal determines what can even reach you, you stop being manageable. You stop being someone who can be kept small by circumstances or convinced that your power lies somewhere outside yourself. This knowledge is not dangerous because it's dark. It's uncomfortable to share because it's liberating. and liberation, real liberation, the kind that comes from finally understanding your own electromagnetic nature, is the most quietly radical thing a person can experience. So take this in carefully. Let it land, not just in your mind, but in your body, in your chest, in the field that is already radiating around you as you listen. Because what I'm about to show you is not philosophy. It is not metaphor. It is not spiritual concept dressed in scientific language. It is the measurable, documented, quantum mechanical reality of what you are. And you have always been this. You just haven't been shown it yet. Your aura is real. Not in the way the word is sometimes used, vaguely, poetically, as a kind of spiritual shorthand for something ineffable. Real in the way that your heartbeat is real. Real in the way that gravity is real. Real in the way that the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, a field that extends several feet beyond your physical body in every direction, has been measured, documented, and studied by researchers at the HeartMath Institute and in laboratories around the world. The human heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body. This is not a claim. This is a measurement. The electrical field of the heart is approximately 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity produced by the brain. The magnetic field generated by the heart is approximately 5,000 times stronger than the magnetic field generated by the brain. And this field, your heart's field, radiates outward from your body in all directions simultaneously, reaching several feet into the space around you, and interacting with everything and everyone in that space. This is your aura. This is what the ancient traditions were pointing toward when they described the luminous field around the human body. They saw it, felt it, mapped it in their own language. And now we have the instruments to measure it. But here is what most people don't understand about this field. And this is where the real revelation begins. Your heart's electromagnetic field is not just radiating energy. It is radiating information. It is carrying encoded data about your emotional state, your nervous system's level of coherence or chaos, your deep beliefs about yourself and reality, and the patterns of thought and feeling that you habitually maintain. All of this information is embedded in the frequency pattern of your heart's field and broadcast outward into the quantum field at every moment. The quantum field, the fundamental layer of reality from which all physical experience emerges, is not passive. It responds to information. It responds to frequency. It assembles patterns of experience that resonate with the signals it receives. And the primary signal it receives from you is not your words, not your intentions stated in your mind, not even your conscious desires. It is the electromagnetic information encoded in your heart's field. What you feel most deeply and most consistently, that is your broadcast. That is your aura's signal. That is what reality is reading and responding to. This is why you can want something consciously and still not receive it. Because wanting is a mental event. Receiving is a field event. And if your field, your aura, is broadcasting a frequency of lack, of unworthiness, of fear, of contraction, then no amount of conscious wanting can override that signal. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you are radiating. But here is the part that changes everything. Here is the reason I am sharing this with you right now. When you become conscious of your signal, when you actually understand what your aura is doing and why, and you begin to work with your own field intentionally, the coherence of your broadcast increases exponentially. A conscious signal is not just slightly more powerful than an unconscious one. It is orders of magnitude more powerful. Because consciousness itself is a field amplifier. Awareness directed at your own energy field changes that field. This is not metaphor. This is quantum mechanics. If this transmission is already shifting something in your field, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. There is so much more of this work waiting for you here, and I want to make sure it keeps reaching you. The observer effect, one of the most well-documented and most misunderstood principles in quantum physics, tells us that the act of observation changes what is being observed. At the quantum level, particles exist in states of probability until they are observed, at which point they collapse into specific, measurable states. Observation itself is a creative act. Now consider what happens when you turn that observing awareness toward your own electromagnetic field. When you become the conscious witness of your own aura, when you stop moving through your life, broadcasting unconsciously, and start actually perceiving and directing your own signal, you are applying the observer effect to your own quantum broadcast. You are collapsing the probability cloud of what your field could be into a specific, coherent, intentional frequency. And the quantum field responds. Your light is on. It has always been on. But right now, it is becoming conscious. And that changes everything about what it can do. Let me take you deeper into how your aura actually works. Because understanding the mechanics is not separate from activating the power. Understanding is itself an activation. The moment your mind grasps something true about your own energy field, that field responds. It begins to reorganize. It begins to cohere. So stay with me here, because every layer of understanding you receive in this transmission is simultaneously a layer of activation. Your aura, your personal electromagnetic field, is not a single thing. It is a nested system of fields, each vibrating at its own frequency, each carrying its own quality of information, and each influencing the others. The ancient traditions described these layers in their own language. The physical body, the etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body, the causal body. What quantum science gives us is a way to understand these not as mystical concepts, but as actual nested fields of electromagnetic information. The outermost layer that most people think of when they think of the aura is the field that extends furthest from the body, the broad electromagnetic envelope that surrounds you and interacts with the fields of other people and with the quantum field of your environment. This is the layer that people sometimes sense when they walk into a room and feel the energy of someone present. It's the layer that makes certain people feel expansive and warm to be near, and others feel draining or contracted. This outer field is shaped by the total of what you are radiating from every layer beneath it. Closer to the body is what we might call the emotional field, the electromagnetic signature of your feelings. Your emotions are not just private inner experiences. They are electromagnetic events. Every emotion you feel generates a specific frequency pattern in your heart's field. Fear generates one pattern. Love generates another. Anger generates another. Gratitude generates another. These are not metaphorical descriptions. These are measurable differences in the coherence and frequency of your heart's electromagnetic output. The HeartMath Institute's research has shown that emotions like frustration, anxiety, and anger produce what they call incoherent heart rhythms, jagged, irregular patterns in the heart's electromagnetic output. These incoherent patterns are broadcast outward through your field, and they signal a kind of electromagnetic static. The quantum field reads this as noise, as disorder, and the experiences that tend to assemble around a field in this state reflect that disorder. Missed connections, friction, obstacles, a a sense of swimming upstream. But emotions like appreciation, compassion, care, and love produce what researchers call coherent heart rhythms, smooth, ordered sine wave-like patterns in the heart's electromagnetic output. These coherent patterns broadcast clarity. They signal order, openness, receptivity, and the experiences that tend to assemble around a coherent field reflect that order. Synchronicities, flow states, unexpected opportunities, the sense that things are working with you rather than against you. This is not coincidence. This is resonance. The quantum field is a resonant system. It amplifies and reflects the patterns it receives. When your aura broadcasts coherence, coherent experiences are drawn toward your field. When your aura broadcasts incoherence, incoherent experiences are drawn toward your field. And here is the layer that most people never consider. Beneath the emotional field, shaping it, is the mental field, the electromagnetic signature of your habitual thoughts and deep beliefs. Your thoughts are not just ideas in your head. They are electromagnetic events in your nervous system that ripple outward into your heart's field, and from there into your aura. The thoughts you think most consistently, the beliefs you hold most deeply, especially the ones you hold without questioning them, the ones that feel like just the way things are, these are the deepest architects of your aura's frequency. This is why a person can consciously decide to feel better, can consciously try to broadcast positivity and still find their field reverting to its habitual pattern within minutes or hours, because the mental field, the layer of deep, unexamined belief, is continuously shaping the emotional field, which is continuously shaping the outer aura. Until the beliefs change, the field doesn't change in any lasting way. And beneath the mental field, at the deepest layer of your personal energy system, is what the ancient traditions called pure consciousness, the silent, aware presence that is your truest nature. This is the still point at the center of your being, the awareness that witnesses all the other layers without being defined by any of them. And this is the layer from which real transformation originates. Because when consciousness, pure, aware, intentional consciousness, is directed at the layers above it, it can reorganize them from the root. This is why becoming conscious of your signal is not just a nice idea. It is the actual mechanism of change. When the deepest layer of your being, your awareness itself, wakes up to what your field is broadcasting, the reorganization begins from the foundation. Your aura knows, even when you don't. And the moment you begin to know what it knows, you step into a power that nothing in your external world can match. Now let me show you something about what your field is doing right now. Because this is not abstract. This is personal. This is about you, specifically, and the signal you have been radiating, and what that signal has been creating in your life. Think about the patterns in your life that keep repeating. Not the events, the patterns. The way certain kinds of situations keep finding you. The way certain types of people keep appearing. The way certain experiences seem to follow you from one chapter of your life to the next, even when the external circumstances change completely. New city, same dynamic. New relationship, same wound. New job, same ceiling. These are not coincidences. These are not bad luck. These are the quantum field responding to a consistent signal. Your aura has been broadcasting these patterns, not because you chose them, but because they were encoded in your field before you were old enough to choose anything. The emotional patterns of your earliest experiences, the quality of love you received or didn't receive, the safety you felt or didn't feel, the messages you absorbed about your worth and your place in the world. These became the baseline frequency of your field. They became the signal you broadcast without knowing it. And the quantum field, faithfully and without judgment, has been assembling experiences that resonate with that signal. This is not a condemnation. This is not something to feel shame about. This is the most important thing to understand. Your aura has been doing exactly what it was designed to do. It has been broadcasting your actual inner state and attracting resonant experiences. The problem was never your aura. The problem was that you were radiating unconsciously from patterns you didn't choose and couldn't see. But you are seeing now, and seeing changes everything. I want to pause here and ask you something, and I genuinely want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a moment where you could feel your own aura shift, where something in your field opened or expanded, and the room around you responded? A moment when people were drawn to you, or when the energy around you visibly changed, and you knew it had something to do with what you were radiating? Share it below. These moments of personal radiance are real. They are electromagnetic. And when we name them together, we strengthen them. There is a woman I want to tell you about. Her name is Clara. She lived in a town where everyone knew everyone, where the rhythms of life were predictable and the expectations were clear. Clara was warm, genuinely warm, the kind of person who remembered your birthday and asked about your mother and always had time to listen. And yet, despite all of this warmth, despite all of this genuine care she poured into the people around her, Clara consistently felt unseen. She gave abundantly and received sparingly. She supported others and found herself rarely supported. She poured light into every room she entered and walked home feeling somehow dimmer than when she'd arrived. For years, Clara believed this was just her role. The giver, the supporter, the one who shows up for others. She wore it like a badge of honor and like a wound simultaneously. What Clara didn't know, what no one had ever shown her, was that her aura was broadcasting a very specific signal. Beneath all that genuine warmth, beneath all that real care, there was a deep, unexamined belief that her own needs were secondary, that her own light was less important than the light she could help others find, that receiving was somehow less noble than giving. And this belief, this deep, quiet conviction that lived in the mental layer of her field, was shaping her emotional field, which was shaping her outer aura, which was broadcasting a signal to the quantum field that said, I am here for others, not for myself. I give, I don't receive. My light serves yours. And the quantum field, faithfully and without judgment, assembled a life that matched that signal. People who needed her and didn't reciprocate. Relationships that drained more than they filled. A persistent sense of invisibility despite her obvious gifts. Clara's outer behavior was generous, but her inner broadcast was one of self-diminishment, and reality was responding to the broadcast, not the behavior. The day everything shifted for Clara was not the day she decided to stop giving. She never stopped giving. That was genuinely who she was. The day everything shifted was the day she sat quietly and for the first time really felt into her own field. She stopped performing care for others for long enough to turn that awareness inward. And what she found was startling. There was a quality of apology in her field, a constant, low-level electromagnetic apology for taking up space, for needing anything, for being anything other than useful. When Clara saw this, when she actually perceived it, not just thought about it, but felt it, recognized it as a frequency she had been broadcasting for decades, something cracked open, not dramatically, not with a great emotional catharsis, just quietly, the way light enters a room when you open a curtain you forgot was closed. She began, very gently, to change her signal, not by forcing herself to feel differently, not by reciting affirmations that felt hollow, but by placing her awareness on her own field with the same quality of care she had always given to others. By tending her own electromagnetic garden with the same gentle attention she had always brought to everyone else's. And gradually, not instantly, but genuinely, what reached her began to change. Not because the world changed, because her signal changed, because the quantum field was receiving a different broadcast and assembling different resonances around it. Clara didn't become less generous. She became more radiant, because generosity that flows from a full field is a completely different electromagnetic event than generosity that flows from depletion. One broadcasts abundance, the other broadcasts lack. And the quantum field responds to what is broadcast, not what is intended. Your field knows. It always knows. And it is always broadcasting the truth of your inner state, regardless of what your outer behavior is performing. This is the most important thing I can show you today. Your aura is not broadcasting what you want people to think about you. It is broadcasting what you actually believe about yourself. And the gap between those two things, the gap between your performed self and your radiated self, is the gap between what you're trying to create in your life and what is actually assembling around you. The good news, the genuinely extraordinary news, is that closing that gap does not require years of therapy or decades of spiritual practice or any kind of external intervention at all. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to feel into your own field, to perceive what is actually being broadcast, and to bring the light of your conscious attention to what you find there. Because consciousness, directed at your own field, is the most powerful reorganizing force in the universe. Not because of some mystical reason, because of quantum mechanics, because awareness changes what it observes, because your conscious attention is itself an electromagnetic event that interacts with and reorganizes the field it is directed toward. Feel your field right now, not as a concept, as an actual felt sense. Place your attention on the space just beyond your skin, an inch, 2 inches, a foot. There is something there, not nothing, a quality of energy, of aliveness, of electromagnetic presence You can feel it if you let yourself. That warmth, that tingling, that subtle sense of your own presence extending beyond the boundaries of your physical form. That is your aura. That is your field. That is the signal you are broadcasting to the quantum field at every moment. What does it feel like right now? Is it expansive or contracted? Warm or cool? Open or guarded? Bright or dim? Don't judge what you find. Just perceive it. Because perception is the beginning of transformation. Your light is on. It has always been on. And right now, you are beginning to see it. Now let me show you something about the specific mechanics of how your aura shapes what reality assembles around you. Because this is where the science becomes genuinely astonishing and where your personal power becomes undeniable. The quantum field, the fundamental substrate of reality, operates on the principle of resonance. Not the poetic idea of resonance, but the precise physical principle. In physics, resonance occurs when a system receives energy at its natural frequency, causing it to vibrate with increasing amplitude. Two tuning forks of the same frequency placed near each other will cause one to begin vibrating when the other is struck. They don't need to be in contact. They don't need a physical connection. The field between them carries the information, and the matching frequency creates the response. Your aura functions as a tuning fork. It broadcasts a frequency, and the quantum field, which contains the potential for an infinite range of experiences, people, opportunities, and realities, responds by amplifying and delivering what resonates with your broadcast frequency. This is not a metaphor. This is not a spiritual concept dressed in scientific language. This is the actual mechanism. The quantum field is not a vending machine that delivers what you consciously request. It is a resonant system that delivers what your field is actually vibrating at. When your aura is broadcasting at the frequency of fear, the electromagnetic signature of a nervous system in survival mode, a heart field generating incoherent, jagged patterns, the quantum field resonates with experiences that match that frequency. Not because the universe is punishing you, not because you deserve difficulty, but because resonance is how the quantum field works. Fear frequency attracts fear frequency experiences, not metaphorically, electromagnetically. When your aura is broadcasting at the frequency of love, the electromagnetic signature of a nervous system in coherence, a heart field generating smooth, ordered, high-amplitude patterns. The quantum field resonates with experiences that match that frequency. Coherence attracts coherent experiences. Love frequency attracts love frequency realities. Again, not metaphorically. Electromagnetically. The HeartMath Institute has documented what they call the global coherence effect, the measurable influence that a single person's coherent heart field has on the people and environment around them. When one person achieves genuine heart coherence, when their emotional state generates the smooth, ordered electromagnetic patterns associated with feelings like appreciation and love, that coherent field actually influences the nervous systems of people nearby. It helps regulate their heart rhythms. It creates a measurable effect in the electromagnetic environment of the space. One person, one coherent field. Measurable influence on the quantum environment around them. Now imagine what happens when your field achieves sustained coherence. When you are not occasionally accessing appreciation or love, but consistently maintaining a high coherence broadcast. The quantum field around you is continuously being shaped by your signal. The people who enter your space are being influenced by your field. The experiences that can reach you are being filtered by your frequency, and only those that resonate with your coherent broadcast can actually penetrate your field and manifest in your experience. This is what the ancient traditions meant when they described the aura as protective. Not protective in a magical, warding off evil sense. Protective in the precise electromagnetic sense that a coherent, high-frequency field creates a kind of resonance boundary around you. Experiences, people, and energies that vibrate at a significantly lower frequency simply cannot maintain resonance with your field. They slide off. They don't penetrate. Not because you are rejecting them with effort, but because the frequency mismatch makes sustained contact impossible. Your aura, when it is coherent and conscious, is the most sophisticated protective technology you possess, and it requires no effort to maintain. It requires only awareness and the genuine cultivation of the emotional states that generate coherence. This is the part that most people never learn about their own energy. And this is why I am sharing it with you now, even knowing that this knowledge changes people in ways that are irreversible. Once you understand that your field is both your creative instrument and your protective boundary, once you understand that what you radiate determines what can reach you, you can never go back to experiencing yourself as a passive recipient of whatever reality decides to deliver. You are an active field. You are a broadcasting station. You are the author of your own electromagnetic signature. And your signature is what the quantum field reads when it decides what to assemble around you. That's not a metaphor. That's not a spiritual belief. That is the quantum mechanical reality of what you are. And now that you know it, you get to choose what you broadcast. Let me give you your first radiance practice. Not a visualization exercise, not a breathing technique, an actual electromagnetic event, something that will measurably shift the coherence of your heart field and begin to reorganize your aura's broadcast in real time. This practice comes from the intersection of quantum physics and the ancient wisdom of heart-centered traditions. It has been validated by biofeedback research and documented in clinical settings. And it is extraordinarily simple, because the most powerful things always are. Begin by placing one hand on your chest, directly over your heart. Not symbolically, physically. Feel the warmth of your own hand against your chest. Feel, if you can, the subtle pulse of your heartbeat beneath your palm. Now breathe, not dramatically, not with any particular technique. Just breathe in a rhythm that feels slightly slower than your normal breath. In for about 5 counts. Out for about 5 counts. The specific numbers matter less than the quality. A gentle, deliberate, slightly slower rhythm than you normally breathe. As you breathe in this rhythm, bring your attention, your actual awareness, not just a thought about it, into the area of your heart. Imagine your breath moving in and out through your heart, rather than through your nose and mouth. Heart breathing. Your awareness is in your chest. Your breath is moving through that center, and your hand is resting there as a physical anchor for your attention. Now, from this place, call up a genuine feeling, not a forced, positive thought, a genuine feeling of appreciation for something real in your life. It can be small, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of a voice you love, a moment of beauty you have actually experienced, a kindness you have actually received, something real, something true, something that, when you bring it to mind, generates an actual felt warmth in your chest. Hold that feeling, not with effort, with gentle attention. Let it rest in your heart center. Let it breathe there. Let it expand naturally, the way warmth spreads through a cold room when you light a fire. What you are doing right now is not imagining. You are generating a coherent heart rhythm. You are reorganizing the electromagnetic pattern of your heart's field. You are changing your aura's broadcast in real time. The Heart Math Institute has documented this precisely. Genuine positive emotion, accessed through heart-focused attention and slow rhythmic breathing, produces measurable increases in heart rate variability, coherence within minutes. Your field is changing as you do this. Stay here for as long as feels natural. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10. The longer you maintain this state, the deeper the reorganization of your field. And each time you return to this practice, the coherence becomes more accessible, more sustainable, more natural, because you are literally training your nervous system to find this frequency more easily. This is your radiance practice, not because it makes you radiant, because it removes what was dimming the radiance that was always there. Your light doesn't need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. And heart coherence is how you uncover it. Feel your field right now. Notice what's radiating. Something has shifted, hasn't it? Even slightly, even subtly. That shift is real. That is your electromagnetic signature changing. That is your aura beginning to broadcast at a higher, cleaner, more coherent frequency. Your light is on, and it is getting brighter. Now let me take you into a deeper layer of how your aura actually works. A layer that most people never reach, because it requires understanding something about the nature of your field that is genuinely counterintuitive. Most people, when they think about their energy field, think about it as something that emanates from them, a kind of glow or radiation that moves outward from their body into the world. And this is true as far as it goes. Your aura does radiate outward. But what most people don't understand is that your aura also receives. It is simultaneously a broadcasting system and a receiving antenna. And the quality of what it can receive is entirely determined by the quality of what it is broadcasting. This is the quantum principle of coherent reception. In physics, a receiver can only detect signals that are within its frequency range. A radio tuned to one frequency cannot receive broadcasts on a different frequency, not because those broadcasts don't exist, but because the receiver's tuning determines what it can detect. Your aura works the same way. The frequency you broadcast determines the frequency you can receive. When your field is broadcasting at the frequency of lack, the electromagnetic signature of believing that you don't have enough, that you are not enough, that good things happen for others, but not for you. Your aura is tuned to that frequency, and while it is tuned to that frequency, signals of abundance, of opportunity, of love, of expansion exist in the quantum field all around you. But your receiver cannot detect them. They are there. You simply cannot receive them because your tuning doesn't match. This is why people who are struggling financially often struggle to see the opportunities that are genuinely present in their environment. Not because the opportunities aren't there, because their field is tuned to scarcity, and scarcity frequency tuning cannot receive abundance frequency signals. The quantum field is broadcasting abundance constantly, but your receiver has to be tuned to that frequency to pick it up. This is also why, when someone's circumstances shift dramatically, when they move from a state of genuine lack to a state of genuine abundance, it often happens suddenly, not gradually. Because it's not a gradual accumulation of resources that creates the shift. It's a shift in field frequency. And when the field shifts, the receiver suddenly has access to signals that were always present, but previously undetectable. Opportunities appear seemingly from nowhere. The right people show up. Doors open that seemed permanently closed. Not because the world changed, because the tuning changed. Your aura's frequency is your tuning, and your tuning is determined by the quality of your consistent inner state, the emotional and mental patterns that you maintain most habitually, most deeply, most automatically. This is why the work of aura cultivation is not about adding something to yourself. It is about removing the interference, the static, the incoherent patterns that are disrupting your natural signal and preventing you from broadcasting and receiving at your true frequency. Because here is the truth about your natural frequency. The frequency that your field broadcasts when it is unimpeded by fear and conditioning and inherited limitation. It is high. It is coherent. It is powerful. It is radiant. This is not a spiritual claim. This is a biological reality. The human nervous system, in its optimal state, a state of safety, love, connection, and meaning, generates some of the most coherent electromagnetic patterns, measurable. Your natural frequency, the frequency of your unimpeded field, is one of the highest coherent signals in the quantum environment. You are not trying to achieve radiance. You are trying to remove what is blocking the radiance that is already your natural state. Think of it this way. The sun does not try to shine. It simply is the sun. And shining is what it does when nothing is blocking its light. Clouds can obscure the sun. The night can hide it. But the sun's nature is to radiate. It doesn't have to work at it. It doesn't have to earn it. It doesn't have to be worthy of it. It simply is what it is, and what it is radiates. You are the same. Your natural state is radiance. Your natural frequency is coherence. What you have been doing, often without knowing it, is blocking your own light, with fear, with self-doubt, with inherited beliefs about your unworthiness, with the protective contractions of a nervous system that learned to stay small in order to stay safe. The work is not to build light. The work is to remove the blocks. And the most powerful block-removing tool you have is conscious awareness directed at your own field. Let me tell you about another person. His name was Elijah. He was the kind of man who moved through the world with a quiet, contained quality, careful, measured, always slightly held back. He was not unhappy. He was not in crisis. He was simply living at about 40% of his actual capacity, and he had been doing it for so long that 40% felt like normal. Elijah had learned early in his life that visibility was dangerous, that standing out invited criticism, that having too much success, too much joy, too much obvious happiness made him a target for the envy and diminishment of others. So he had learned to modulate himself, to keep his light turned down, to be good without being great, to succeed without shining. And for years, this strategy worked. He stayed safe. He stayed acceptable. He stayed small enough not to threaten anyone. But his field knew. His aura knew. Because you cannot dim your light on the outside without also dimming it on the inside. You cannot perform smallness without eventually generating the electromagnetic signature of smallness. And Elijah's field had been broadcasting a very specific signal for a very long time. I am here, but not too much. I am capable, but not fully. I am available, but not for anything too large. And the quantum field, faithfully and without judgment, had assembled a life that matched that signal. Good enough, safe enough, contained enough. A life that was perfectly calibrated to the frequency of a man who had decided long ago that full radiance was too risky. The day Elijah's field began to change was the day he understood, really understood, in his body, not just his mind, that his dimming was not protecting him. It was costing him, not just in external opportunities, though those had certainly been limited by his contracted field. It was costing him himself. The aliveness that was his natural state, the creative power that was his birthright, the genuine connection that was impossible to access when he was perpetually broadcasting a signal of managed, careful, contained presence. He began slowly and with genuine tenderness for the part of himself that had learned to stay small in order to stay safe, to turn the light up, not by forcing himself to be more visible, not by performing confidence he didn't yet feel, but by placing his conscious awareness on his own field and asking, with genuine curiosity, what would it feel like to radiate without apology? What would it feel like to let my actual frequency broadcast without modulation? What would it feel like to be as bright as I actually am? And something in his field responded, not immediately, not all at once, but gradually, the way a room fills with warmth when a fire is lit, slowly at first, and then thoroughly until the warmth is everywhere, and you can't remember what the cold felt like. Elijah's life did not change because he changed his behavior. It changed because he changed his broadcast. And the quantum field responded to the new signal by assembling new resonances. People who could meet his actual frequency, not the managed, contained version. Opportunities that matched his actual capacity, not the 40% version. A sense of aliveness and creative power that he had not felt since childhood, before he learned that brightness was dangerous. Your light has always been this bright. You may have learned, as Elijah did, to turn it down. You may have learned that full radiance was unsafe, or arrogant, or too much for the people around you. You may have spent years carefully modulating your own electromagnetic signature, keeping it within the range that felt acceptable. But the quantum field doesn't respond to acceptable. It responds to authentic. It responds to your actual frequency, not the managed version of it. And your actual frequency, the signal of your unimpeded field, is extraordinary. You've been glowing this whole time. Now you get to see it. And I want to ask you something here, right now, in this moment. Have you ever felt the warmth of your own field activating? That unmistakable sensation of your light expanding, of your presence filling a room before you've said a word, of someone responding to your energy in a way that surprised you? Drop it in the comments. Tell me what it felt like. These are not small moments. They are electromagnetic events, and naming them here, in this space, in this community amplifies them. Your experience of your own radiance is worth sharing. Let me show you another layer of your aura's mechanics, because there is something here that is genuinely profound and that most people never encounter in any discussion of the energy field. Your aura has memory, not memory in the way your brain has memory, not stored information that you can consciously access and retrieve. Electromagnetic memory, the pattern memory of a field that has been shaped by consistent experience over time. Your aura carries the imprint of every significant emotional experience you have ever had. Not as a record, but as a frequency pattern. Every time you experienced fear and contracted, your field learned that contraction. Every time you experienced love and expanded, your field learned that expansion. Every time you were seen and celebrated, your field learned the frequency of recognition. Every time you were dismissed or diminished, your field learned the frequency of invisibility. These learned patterns are not stored in your mind. They are stored in your field. They are part of the electromagnetic signature your aura broadcasts. Whether or not you are consciously thinking about the experiences that created them. This is why people can do tremendous amounts of cognitive work, therapy, journaling, self-reflection, conscious reframing, and still find that their field hasn't fully shifted, because the pattern is not only in the mind, it's in the field. And the field has its own memory, its own momentum, its own tendency to return to familiar frequencies, even when the mind has decided to move on. This is also why embodied practices that work with the body and the breath and the felt sense of the field, not just the mind, are so important for genuine aura transformation. You can think your way to a new understanding, but you have to feel your way to a new frequency, because the field responds to feeling, not thinking. The heart coherence practice I gave you earlier is precisely this kind of embodied field level work. When you breathe in that rhythm and bring genuine positive emotion through your heart center, you are not just having a pleasant experience. You are creating a new electromagnetic event in your field. You are generating a new pattern. And every time you generate that pattern, you are strengthening it, building what researchers call heart coherence momentum. The tendency of a field that has experienced coherence to return to coherence more easily. You are literally rewriting your field's memory, not by erasing what was there, but by creating new patterns that are stronger, more coherent, and more consistently generated than the old ones. Over time, the new patterns become the dominant frequency. The old patterns don't disappear, but they lose their dominance. They become less and less the default broadcast of your field. This is how lasting aura transformation actually works. Not through a single dramatic experience, not through a moment of spiritual awakening, through consistent, embodied, felt sense work with your own field, generating coherent patterns repeatedly until those patterns become the new normal frequency of your aura. And here is the extraordinary thing about this process. It is self-reinforcing. Because as your field's frequency rises, as your aura's broadcast becomes more coherent and more consistent, the experiences that reach you begin to change. And those new experiences, those resonant experiences that your higher frequency field attracts, themselves generate positive emotion, which further increases your field's coherence, which further raises your frequency, which attracts even more resonant experiences. This is what people mean when they talk about an upward spiral. Not a metaphor, an actual electromagnetic feedback loop. Your field generates coherence. Coherence attracts resonant experience. Resonant experience generates more coherence. More coherence attracts more resonant experience. The spiral goes up, and it begins with the first moment of genuine heart coherence. The first moment you place your awareness on your own field and generate a real, felt sense of appreciation or love or gratitude. That moment is the beginning of the spiral. You may have already started it today. Feel your field right now. Notice what's radiating. Is there something different there than when you began listening? A quality of warmth, of expansion, of aliveness that wasn't as present before? That's not imagination. That's your electromagnetic signature shifting. That's your aura beginning to broadcast at a higher coherence. That's the quantum field beginning to receive a cleaner, stronger, more intentional signal from you. Your light is on, and it is becoming conscious, and a conscious light is the most powerful thing in the quantum universe. Now, I want to address something that comes up for almost everyone who begins to understand the mechanics of their own aura. Because there is a question that arises, often quietly, sometimes with a kind of guilt attached to it. And the question is this: if my aura has been broadcasting patterns of fear and lack and self-diminishment, does that mean I created all the difficult things in my life? Does that mean I attracted my own suffering? I want to answer this with complete clarity. because the misunderstanding here is significant, and it can cause real harm if left unaddressed. You did not choose your initial field frequency. You did not choose the experiences that shaped your early emotional patterns. You did not choose the beliefs that were encoded in your field before you were old enough to question them. The frequency of your aura at any given point in your life has been the result of everything that happened to you. Everything you were taught, everything you absorbed from the fields of the people around you. Most of it before you had any capacity for conscious choice. Understanding that your field has been broadcasting certain patterns is not an invitation to blame yourself for what those patterns attracted. It is an invitation to compassion for yourself, for the child who learned to contract in order to stay safe, for the person who learned to dim their light because brightness felt dangerous, for the one who absorbed the frequency of unworthiness from people who were themselves radiating unworthiness because they had absorbed it from their own early experiences. The patterns in your field are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. And those are very different things. Fault is backward looking. It assigns blame for what has already happened. Responsibility is forward looking. It recognizes that you now have the awareness and the capacity to consciously work with your own field, and that this awareness changes what is possible going forward. You didn't choose the signal you've been broadcasting, but now that you can see it, you get to choose what happens next. And this is where the real power lives. Not in the understanding that your field has been broadcasting unconsciously. That's just the starting point. The power lives in what becomes possible the moment you bring conscious awareness to your own electromagnetic signature. The moment you stop being a passive broadcaster and become an active, intentional, conscious radiator. Because here is what changes when that shift happens. Everything. Not because the external world suddenly becomes easier, but because your relationship to the external world changes fundamentally. When you understand that what you radiate determines what reaches you, you stop waiting for the world to change and start working with your own signal. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the conscious architect of your own frequency. You stop hoping that things will get better and start actively generating the electromagnetic conditions in which better things can reach you. This is not toxic positivity. This is not the naive belief that if you just think happy thoughts, nothing bad will ever happen to you. Life is complex. Collective fields, environmental conditions, the fields of other people. These all interact with your personal field in ways that are not always within your individual control. But what is within your control? What is always, in every circumstance, within your control is the quality of your own broadcast, the coherence of your own field, the frequency of your own aura. And that frequency, that coherence, that conscious broadcast is the most powerful influence you have on what your experience of reality will be. You are not powerless in the face of life's complexity. You are a radiant field of quantum energy, and your radiance is your power. Let me give you another layer of this practice, because the heart coherence work I shared earlier is the foundation, but there are additional dimensions of your aura that you can consciously work with once the foundation is established. One of the most powerful things you can do for your field, beyond generating heart coherence, is to become conscious of the quality of attention you bring to your own energy throughout the day. Because your attention is not neutral. Your attention is an electromagnetic event. Where you place your awareness, you are directing electromagnetic energy. And the quality of that attention, whether it is fearful or loving, contracted or expansive, judgmental or appreciative, determines the effect it has on the field it is directed toward. Most people, when they do turn their attention toward themselves, do so with a quality of judgment or criticism or anxious evaluation. They check in with themselves and immediately begin assessing what's wrong, what's missing, what needs to be fixed. And this quality of attention, this judgmental, critical, anxious attention, is itself a contracted, incoherent electromagnetic event. It actually decreases the coherence of your field rather than increasing it. The alternative is what I would call luminous self-attention, attention that is warm, curious, appreciative, and non-judgmental attention that looks at your own field the way you might look at something genuinely beautiful, with openness, with appreciation, with a quality of wonder. This quality of self-attention is itself a coherence-generating event. When you look at your own field with warmth and appreciation, when you regard your own energy with the same quality of care you would offer to something precious, you are generating the electromagnetic signature of love and appreciation directed at your own field. And that signature reorganizes your field toward coherence. This is what it means to love yourself at the quantum level. Not the performance of self-love, not the affirmation of self-love, the actual electromagnetic event of directing warm, appreciative, non-judgmental attention toward your own energy field. That is quantum self-love, and it is one of the most powerful aura coherence practices available to you. Throughout your day, as often as you remember, place your attention on your own field with this quality of warmth. Not to assess or fix or improve, just to acknowledge, to appreciate, to say, in effect, I see you. I know you are there. I know you are radiating, and I regard you with care. This practice, done consistently, creates a cumulative shift in your field's baseline frequency. Because you are repeatedly generating the electromagnetic signature of appreciation and care directed at your own energy, and your field responds. It begins to hold that frequency more naturally. It begins to broadcast that quality of warmth, not just when you are consciously generating it, but as a natural background tone of your aura. People will begin to feel it. Not because you are performing anything, because your field is broadcasting it. That warmth that people feel around certain individuals, that quality of presence that makes people feel seen and safe and somehow more themselves, that is not personality. That is field coherence. That is the electromagnetic signature of a person who has learned to regard their own energy with love. And here is the extraordinary thing. When your field broadcasts this quality of warmth, this coherent, loving, appreciative frequency, it doesn't just attract loving experiences to you. It actually influences the fields of people around you. Remember the global coherence effect. Your coherent field influences the nervous systems of people in your environment. When you are broadcasting coherent warmth, you are literally helping the people around you access their own coherence. You are being, in the most literal electromagnetic sense, a light in the world. Not because you are trying to be, because that's what you are. That's what you've always been. You just needed to stop dimming it. Now I want to speak directly to something that may have come up for you as you've been listening. A quality of recognition, a sense of, yes, I've known this, or I've felt this, or this explains something I've been experiencing that I didn't have language for. You've always known you radiate something. You've always had a sense that you affect rooms, that you influence people, that your presence has a quality that goes beyond your words and your actions. You've had moments, maybe many moments, where you walked into a space and felt the energy shift, where your presence seemed to calm or uplift or energize the people around you without you doing anything in particular. where someone told you they felt better just being near you, and you didn't quite know what to say because you weren't doing anything. You were just there. Those moments were not your imagination. Those were your field at high coherence. Those were your aura, broadcasting at its natural frequency, undimmed and unimpeded. And the people around you felt it because their fields resonated with it. You've been doing this your whole life. In the moments when you were most genuinely yourself, most open, most present, most unguarded, most alive, your field has been broadcasting at extraordinary coherence, and the world around you has responded. The challenge is that those moments have been intermittent. They've happened when conditions were right, when you felt safe enough, loved enough, relaxed enough, alive enough to let your full frequency broadcast. And then something would shift. A fear would arise. A doubt would surface. An old pattern would reassert itself. And the light would dim again. What we are building here is not the capacity to have those moments. You already have that capacity. What we are building is the capacity to sustain them, to make the high coherence broadcast your default state rather than your occasional state, to stop waiting for the right conditions to let your light shine and start generating those conditions from within your own field. Because here is the truth that changes everything. The conditions don't create the coherence. The coherence creates the conditions. Your field doesn't become coherent because your life is going well. Your life goes well because your field is coherent. The causality runs from the inside out, not the outside in. This is the inversion that most people never make. They spend their lives waiting for external conditions to improve so they can finally feel the way they want to feel. Waiting for the relationship to arrive so they can feel loved. Waiting for the money to come so they can feel abundant. Waiting for the recognition to happen so they can feel worthy. And because they are waiting, because their field is broadcasting the frequency of waiting, of not yet, of when this happens, then I can radiate. The quantum field assembles more waiting, more not yet, more when this happens. The inversion is this. Generate the feeling first. Generate the coherent field first. Broadcast the frequency of love, of abundance, of worthiness, of radiance first. Not because you've received these things, but because your field is the generator of these frequencies, not the receiver of them. You don't receive love and then feel loving. you generate the frequency of love in your field, and then love frequency experiences are drawn to you by resonance. This is the deepest secret of your aura. It is not a receiver waiting to be filled. It is a generator. It is the source. And what it generates determines what the quantum field assembles around it. You are not waiting to receive your light from somewhere else. You are the source of your own radiance. And the moment you begin to operate from that understanding, the moment you stop waiting and start generating, everything about what reality delivers to you changes. Let me tell you about one more person, because stories carry something that pure explanation cannot. Her name was Rosalind. She was a woman who had spent years in the practice of spiritual seeking, reading, studying, attending retreats, doing all the things that people do when they are genuinely committed to their own growth. She had accumulated tremendous understanding. She could speak eloquently about energy fields and quantum mechanics and the law of attraction and heart coherence. She understood all of it. And yet, her life remained largely unchanged. The patterns she wanted to shift hadn't shifted. The experiences she wanted to attract hadn't arrived. The sense of aliveness and creative power she was seeking remained just out of reach. She came to understand, eventually, what the gap was. It was the gap between knowing and being, between understanding the mechanics of her field and actually living from a different frequency. She had filled her mind with knowledge about radiance without actually becoming radiant. She had learned about heart coherence without consistently generating it. She had understood the principles of quantum resonance without actually changing her broadcast. The knowledge was real. The understanding was genuine, but it had remained in her mind, where it could inform, but not transform. Because transformation is a field event, not a mental event. And her field was still broadcasting the same frequency it had always broadcast. The frequency of seeking, of not yet arrived, of knowing about the destination, but not inhabiting it. The shift for Rosalind came when she stopped seeking and started being. When she stopped trying to understand radiance and started practicing it. When she put down the books and the teachings and the frameworks, including the ones she had built herself, and simply placed her hand on her heart and breathed and felt. Not thought about feeling, felt. Actually felt the warmth in her chest, the aliveness in her body, the subtle, extraordinary sensation of her own field radiating around her. the quality of presence that was hers, that had always been hers, that no amount of seeking had ever added to because it had never been absent. She had been seeking what she already was. She had been trying to find her light while standing in it. And when she finally stopped seeking and simply inhabited her own field, everything changed. Not because new things arrived, though they did eventually, but because she stopped being somewhere else in her mind and actually lived in her own electromagnetic presence. And from that presence, from that genuine inhabitation of her own field, her aura began to broadcast something it had never broadcast before: arrival, fullness, sufficiency, the electromagnetic signature of someone who has stopped waiting and started being. And the quantum field responded, as it always does, as it always will. You are not seeking your light. You are your light. And the practice is simply to stop dimming it long enough to feel that truth in your body. Let me bring you into a deeper practice now, because we have built enough understanding that the next layer of embodied work can be even more powerful than what we did earlier. Find a comfortable position. You can do this sitting or lying down, with your eyes closed or softly open. Begin with the heart coherence, practice we established earlier. Hand on your heart, slow rhythmic breathing, genuine feeling of appreciation or love or gratitude held gently in your chest. Spend a few moments establishing that baseline. Feel the warmth in your heart center. Feel the subtle shift in your body's quality of aliveness that comes with genuine positive emotion. Feel your field beginning to cohere. Now, from this place of heart coherence, begin to expand your awareness outward from your body. Not dramatically, not with effort, just gently extend your attention to the space immediately around you. The inch or two of space just beyond your skin. Feel it. There is something there, a quality of energy, of warmth, of electromagnetic presence. Your field, your aura, the signal you are broadcasting to the quantum field right now. Acknowledge it, not with analysis, with appreciation. There is a field around you that is radiating your frequency into reality. It has been doing this your entire life. It is doing it right now. And it is yours. It is you, extended beyond your physical form. Now gently expand your awareness further to the space a foot around you, 2 feet. Feel the edges of your field, not as a boundary, but as a frontier, the outermost reach of your electromagnetic presence in this moment. From this expanded awareness, notice the quality of what your field is broadcasting. Not with judgment, with curiosity. What is the temperature of your field right now? What is its texture? Is it open or guarded? Expansive or contained? Bright or dim? Whatever you find, meet it with the same warmth you would offer to something precious, because it is precious. It is your field. It is your signal. It is the most honest expression of your inner state, available anywhere in your reality. Now, from this place of warm, expansive, coherent awareness, set an intention for your broadcast. Not a wish, not a hope, an electromagnetic intention, a deliberate choice about what frequency you want your aura to broadcast going forward. Choose something that feels genuinely true and genuinely possible, not a frequency you're performing, but one you can actually feel beginning to generate in your chest right now. Maybe it's the frequency of openness, of being genuinely available to receive what is meant for you. Maybe it's the frequency of worthiness, the electromagnetic signature of someone who knows in their body that they deserve the experiences they desire. Maybe it's the frequency of love, not romantic love specifically, but the broad, warm, expansive electromagnetic state that the HeartMath researchers associate with the highest coherence patterns they measure. Whatever you choose, feel it. Don't just think it, feel it. Let it generate in your heart center and radiate outward through your field. Let it become the signal you are broadcasting right now, in this moment, to the quantum field. This is your conscious broadcast. This is your intentional radiance. This is the difference between an unconscious signal and a directed one. And a directed signal is orders of magnitude more powerful than an undirected one. Stay here as long as you can. Let this frequency become familiar. Let your field memorize it. Let your nervous system learn this as a home frequency, a place it can return to easily, naturally, without effort. This is your light at full broadcast. This is your aura at conscious radiance. This is what the quantum field receives when you stop dimming and start shining. Your aura is active. Your signal is clear. Your light is conscious. And now you know what it feels like to radiate on purpose. I want to speak to the community of people who are receiving this transmission. because there is something that happens when multiple fields engage with the same understanding simultaneously. Something that is itself a quantum event. You are not listening to this alone. Thousands of people, perhaps tens of thousands, are receiving this transmission, each in their own space, each with their own field, each beginning to understand and consciously work with their own electromagnetic signature, and each of those fields, as they shift toward coherence, contributes to a collective field effect that is larger than any individual field. The Heart Math Institute has documented the global coherence network, the measurable influence that the collective electromagnetic activity of human hearts has on the Earth's own electromagnetic field. When large numbers of people experience coherent, positive emotion simultaneously, as happens during moments of collective joy or compassion or shared purpose, the Earth's electromagnetic field measurably shifts. The collective field of human hearts is not separate from the planetary field. It is part of it. When you work with your own field, when you generate heart coherence and conscious radiance, you are contributing to this collective field. You are not just changing your own life. You are adding a coherent signal to the collective electromagnetic environment. You are being, in the most literal and measurable sense, a light in the world. And this is why the question I want to ask you, the question I want you to sit with and respond to in whatever way feels right to you, is this: what is your field broadcasting right now, in this moment? And what would you like it to broadcast going forward? Not as a mental exercise, as a genuine inquiry into your own electromagnetic signature. What is the quality of your current broadcast? And what is the conscious signal you are choosing to send from this moment forward? This is the most important question you can ask yourself. Not what do I want to have? Not what do I want to achieve? What do I want to radiate? Because what you radiate determines everything else. Sit with that, feel into it, and if you feel moved to share what you discover, what your field has been broadcasting, and what you are now choosing to broadcast, do so. Not because sharing creates accountability, though it does, but because when you declare your conscious broadcast, you are setting an electromagnetic intention. You are making the choice real in the field. And that matters. Your field is listening. The quantum field is listening. And what you declare with genuine feeling from a place of heart coherence becomes the frequency that reality assembles around. Now let me bring you to the integration layer of this transmission, because everything we have explored today, the quantum mechanics of your aura, the mechanism of resonant attraction, the heart coherence practice, the nature of conscious versus unconscious broadcasting, the field memory, the coherent reception principle. All of this is most powerful when it is integrated into your lived experience, not as a set of ideas you carry around, as a way of being that is embodied in your field. The integration principle for today is this: your aura is always broadcasting. There is no moment when your field is off. There is no moment when you are not sending a signal to the quantum field. The only question is whether that signal is conscious or unconscious, chosen or automatic, coherent or incoherent. And the practice of integration is simply this: remember. Throughout your day, in the midst of your ordinary life, remember that you are a radiating field. Remember that your aura is broadcasting right now. Remember that the quantum field is reading your signal right now and assembling resonances around it, not as a source of anxiety, as a source of power. Because remembering that you are always broadcasting is the same as remembering that you are always powerful. You are never passive. You are never at the mercy of your circumstances. You are always, in every moment, an active electromagnetic presence whose signal shapes what reality delivers to you. When you remember this in the midst of a difficult moment, when you feel the contraction of fear or frustration or doubt, you can choose to pause, to breathe, to place your hand on your heart and return to coherence. Not because the difficulty isn't real, but because your response to it, your field's frequency in the face of it, determines what comes next. When you remember this in a moment of joy or love or gratitude, when your field is naturally broadcasting at high coherence, you can consciously amplify it. You can place your awareness on your field and intentionally expand the signal. You can let the good moments do more work than they would do if you simply moved through them unconsciously. Every moment is an opportunity to broadcast consciously. Every moment is an opportunity to choose your signal. Every moment is an opportunity to radiate with intention rather than by default. This is the practice of conscious radiance. Not a technique you do for 5 minutes in the morning. A way of moving through the world as the luminous, electromagnetic, quantum mechanical being that you actually are. Your aura is always active. Your light is always on. The only question is whether you are directing it. And from this day forward, you are. if this transmission has opened something in your field, consider returning to it during a quiet moment. In the stillness of early morning, when your nervous system is most receptive, or just before sleep, when the boundary between your conscious and field awareness becomes thin and the reorganization can go deepest. And if there is someone in your life whose light needs reminding, someone who has forgotten how bright they are, someone who is dimming themselves in the way Clara did, or Elijah, or Rosalind, share this with them. Because sharing is not just a kind gesture, it is an electromagnetic event. When you send this to someone, you are activating their awareness of their own field. And two fields, both moving toward coherence, create a resonance between them that strengthens both. You are not just helping them. You are contributing to the collective luminosity. You are adding coherent signals to the shared field. That is what it means to be a light in the world. Let me close this transmission with something that I want you to carry with you, not as an idea, but as a felt truth, something that lives in your body and your field long after the words have faded. You have been radiating your whole life. Every moment of every day, your energy field has been broadcasting a signal, sometimes of fear, sometimes of love, sometimes of contraction, sometimes of expansion, sometimes of unconscious conditioning, sometimes of genuine radiance. All of it has been real. All of it has been you. And all of it has been shaping what reality assembles around you. The moments when you lit up a room without trying, that was your aura at high coherence. The times when people felt inexplicably better after being near you, that was your field broadcasting genuine warmth. The experiences of synchronicity and flow and unexpected good fortune, those were the quantum field responding to a coherent signal. The moments when you felt most alive, most yourself, most genuinely present, those were moments when your natural frequency was broadcasting without impediment. You have always been capable of this. You have always been this. The radiance was never something you needed to acquire. It was always there, waiting beneath the layers of conditioning and fear and learned smallness, ready to broadcast at full power the moment you stopped dimming it. And now you know how your field works. You know the quantum mechanics of your aura. You know the difference between coherent and incoherent broadcasting. You know how resonance determines what reality assembles around you. You know how to generate heart coherence. You know how to direct your conscious attention toward your own field in a way that amplifies its signal. You know how to set an electromagnetic intention and let it become the frequency that the quantum field responds to. This knowledge is not separate from your power. This knowledge is your power. Because understanding your own electromagnetic nature, really understanding it in your body, in your field, not just in your mind, is itself the activation. The moment you comprehend what you are, you begin to radiate differently. The moment you see your own light, the light gets brighter. You are a radiant field of quantum energy. You are a broadcasting station whose signal shapes what reality delivers to you. You are the conscious architect of your own electromagnetic signature. And you are, in the most literal and measurable sense, a light in the world. Not because you should be, not because you're trying to be, because that's what you are. That's what you've always been. Your aura is active. Your light is conscious. Your signal is clear. What you radiate, reality assembles around. And from this moment forward, you radiate on purpose. Shine. Not because you should, not because it's your job, not because the world needs you to, but because that's what you are. You are light. You are a radiating, coherent, quantum mechanical field of extraordinary power. And the universe has been waiting for you to know it. Welcome to your own light. You've always been here. Now you see it. And that changes everything. If your aura is already beginning to reorganize around this understanding, the next transmission that will deepen it is waiting for you. Once your aura locks into this frequency, your entire reality organizes. It picks up exactly where this one leaves off, taking you into the specific mechanics of how a locked frequency begins drawing your whole life into alignment. Your relationships, your opportunities, the quality of what the quantum field assembles around you, and how to sustain that lock once your field finds it.